I figured I would put this video together to kind of explain the process of getting a blackout tattoo. Um, for those of you that don't know what that is, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? Blackout. You take a section of skin on your body and just pack it in with black ink. Some people do it to cover up mistakes or things that don't have that much meaning to them anymore, and they just do solid black. Some people do patterns, geometric shapes, ornamental patterns, tribal, things like that, and they incorporate the blackout with those designs to make it look a little bit more pleasing to the eyes and more artistic. I opted to just go solid black. Now, the reason I decided to do that with my arm is I already had a full sleeve on this arm of really bad work. Almost 20 plus years old. I got it, my first tattoo when I was 18. Didn't do any research, didn't ask around or go online or talk to different shops and see, who the best artists were. I just kind of went to the first place I saw that I thought was doing decent work and started getting tattooed. Another mistake I made, besides going to a bad shop, was switching artists halfway through my sleeve. That was a big problem, because you have one style of artwork from here to here, and then you get to the elbow down to the wrist is a totally different style of artist, different themes. The artwork itself, two different things. You have biomechanical, and then you have like old school with like big heavy black lines, and then there's new school thrown in there with realism, and it was just a mess, man. And the other problem that I had is that none of it flowed. Like the artists, these guys, they weren't artists. They were just dudes that drew on stencils and went over the lines. They didn't map it out to the shape and contour of my arm, and nothing flowed. It was just a mess. And over time, exposure to the sun, tattoo culture and artwork changing over the years, it just got worse and worse and worse. It got to the point where I was so embarrassed of my arm that I would literally wear long sleeve shirts all day, every day. And I live in Los Angeles, where it's 99 degrees, 364 days out of the year. I was embarrassed, and I hated it, and it was driving me crazy. And I'm 36 years old now. I still have who knows how many more years left in me, and I just could not see myself becoming an old man with all that goofy stuff on my arm. So I know what you guys are thinking. Oh, why didn't you laser it off, right? Like, okay, well, let me explain laser to you, because I'm in the process of getting stuff on my leg lasered off, right? So laser costs a lot of money. Number one, that's probably the biggest problem about getting laser tattoo removal. They charge by the square inch. It takes multiple sessions for it to come out, and it's a very long process. You don't just go and get 10 sessions in a row, back to back. You have to go for one, and you have a month and a half to 2 months of recovery, then you go to your next one, and it gradually gets lighter over time. Now, the light from the laser reacts to dark pigments. So the darker the pigment, the more likely it is that it's going to lighten, right? So if you have things like blues and reds and oranges and pastels and things like that, which my entire right arm was damn near blue, it's never going to come out. It's always going to somewhat be there. Not to mention, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2". I'm 230 pounds. Like, I have a giant arm. And if we're talking square inches from my elbow to my wrist and all the skin in between, it would have cost me a fortune of money that I don't have. So the only thing sans amputation or skin graft was to black it out. Now, I didn't just jump into this the way I did when I got my sleeve done. I had to do my research this time, because this process it's not very common, and there's artists that say that they can do it and they really can't. It's a whole other technique. I mean, as weird as it sounds, like you're just packing black ink in there, but I've seen countless blackouts that are done poorly, that are, transparent, a lot of scarring, uneven, they look like crap, right? And there's not very many people here in Los Angeles that do that kind of extreme tattooing. So fortunately for me, I randomly found somebody online from Instagram, and they do this technique, and they do it down in San Diego, not too far from where I live. It's only a 2-hour drive. So, you know, we had a consultation. I looked at his portfolio. He had already done a ton of these blackouts. Not to mention, he kind of was mentored by this dude Hood, who's in Philly, that pretty much pioneered this technique. Hood's the guy that did Kat Von D's blackouts, right? So he's kind of studying under the same dude and learning his little tips and tricks. So I did some soul searching, and I decided that this would be the best thing for me to do. So I booked my first session. I paid the deposit. I drove down to San Diego, and I got the first hour in, and I see my arm is just this bloodied, blackened mess. There's just ink everywhere, and it's all black. And I just thought to myself, I had like a little panic attack in that moment. I was like, what the hell did I just do? Oh my God. Like, I freaked out, right? Thankfully, that moment subsided, because at that point I already jumped feet first into the deep end. There's no turning back. So yeah, it was kind of scary at first, but one thing about this process, if you do decide that this is something that you want to do, it's not like getting a regular tattoo, right? I have a lot of tattoos on my body. You know, pain, it goes hand in hand with getting tattooed, right? So this type of pain from the blackout work is like on a whole other level. It's excruciating. The reason being is that you're having more needles, right? They want to fill in as much skin as they can, so they have to use more needles. So it's kind of a shading technique. The other thing is that to get that deep, solid black, you know, the artist needs to go over in the same spot over and over and over and wipe it, and then tattoo it some more, and then wipe it to really make sure that that ink's in there. Well, your skin gets pissed off really quick and starts to swell up. So it's very painful. It's time consuming, like just to get through sections, depending on how big your body is, you know, you could spend 3-4 hours and only get, you know, this far or whatever. That's how it was for me. It took multiple sessions because I'm big, and you can only deal with the pain for so much before you tap out. It's pretty painful process, not to mention the recovery, right? So I totally underestimated this when I started doing this. I thought like it would be like a regular tattoo. No, dead wrong, right? The recovery, so your body, you know, its immediate reaction is to swell, to defend itself, and to start fighting off this poison that's in your skin, right? So your arm just becomes this big, swollen, bloodied, hot mess, and it takes days, I mean multiple days of rest, ibuprofen, ice, just to get the swelling down. And then the whole process of a tattoo healing, like the scabbing, it's just on a whole other level. I mean, your whole arm, your skin just peels off, and it's itchy, and it's a mess. So my first session where I messed up is I didn't take any time off from work right after I got tattooed. That really jeopardized the quality of the work the first session that I had. That's another thing. You need to take the time off to rest if you want the ink to settle and you want it to heal properly. It's a very traumatic, painful thing to go through on your arm. And if you go right back into like going to the gym or, you know, whatever, doing something on the weekend or going back to your normal job, and you do a lot of labor or things like that, you're setting yourself up to, one, have it get infected, not heal properly, and two, you're going to have it to where you're going to have to get it touched up for sure. So after that first mess up of mine, I made sure that each session after the fact that I would take time off work and do nothing except rest and let my body recover, because like I said, it's very, very intense, the healing process. So as far as price goes, I mean, you get what you pay for. I'm not gonna say what I paid for my arm, because, you know, that's what he charged me, and it could be different for somebody else, more or less, I don't know. But just know that a good tattoo is not cheap, and a cheap tattoo is not good, right? So if you want to get this done right and do somebody that's, again, by somebody that specializes in it, then you're gonna have to pay for that quality of work, and that's what I did. And at the end of the day, like, you know, don't live beyond your means. Obviously, if you don't have the money to be getting tattooed, then don't go spending, you know, fortune on getting stuff you can't afford. It's common sense, right? So it does cost a lot of money though, because, you know, you're paying for the quality, right? And as weird as that sounds, it's not like a regular tattoo. The technique's totally different. So, but yeah, this is what it looks like. You can see here. I have lotion on it right now, so it's looking kind of shiny and whatnot, but there's the elbow. Still, I just got some done like 4 or 5 days ago, more work and then some touch-ups here, so it's peeling a little bit there on the elbow, as you can see, so it looks a little discolored. That darker color right there is the skin peeling off. And then same thing on the wrist there, it's all still kind of healing. And then I have like up here, this is real fresh too on the shoulder area, you could see, and it kind of comes to a point right there. This is all fresh here, so you can see the discoloration. That's just only because I just got it done a few days ago. But after a few more weeks, when the ink settles, this should be super buttery, super smooth. And no, I don't plan on tattooing that in there. You don't want to black that out, trust me. That is not fun, right? So yeah, that's it. Think before you get a tattoo.